Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. So let's get started with the today's session. Okay, well, before we start, actually, do we need needed or any question? Okay. Okay. If no doubts, maybe we can quickly get started with the today's class. Okay. So today we'll be starting. We have already started the OOPS concept, right? So these are the topics we are going to discuss in the coming classes. The object and the classes, we have already given a brief about the what is object, what are the classes. Apart from that, today we'll be starting an abstraction, right? And after that, in the consecutive classes, we can start the encapsulation, inheritance, and the polymorphism. So that with that, we'll be done with our OOPS concept, right? Because I see this is the one of the most important topics when it comes to Java. Since the Java is an object-oriented language, these are the topics which whenever you see a coding question, right? Not in the coding question, whenever you see an MCQ on the Java, it mostly based on these concepts only. Right? So fairly, these are the important topics in terms of an MCQs. Apart from that, apart from the MCQs, these topics are being asked at the time of an interview as well. Right? If you have ever sit for an interview and if it is and you say that okay, I know Java, so these are the questions which comes to the interviewer's mind first. So we can quickly get started. What is an object? So object is basically what we have discussed in last class as well. I'll just give a quick intro so that we all of us are on the same page. Guys, do let me know if you guys have any doubts, right? So objects are the real world entities. Right? Apart from this, objects are those who has properties, right? And the tasks are performed by the object. It's instance and the classes as well. So let's say if I have a name as in human. Human have name, color, and the height. Right? Apart from these, a particular human can do following things. He can walk, he can run, he can read, he can write. So these are the tasks performed by that human, and these are the properties of that human. What is a class? If I tell you about the class, so the class is basically a blueprint of rules, right? So if I tell you what is the relationship between the class and object, so the class is a number of objects. Class is made up of a number of objects, right? So if I say a student is going to be a class which has a property, and the property is going to be termed as a variable, right? So it may have name, it may have roll number, it may have date of birth, right? Okay, what are the tasks a student can perform? It basically depends. So what are the tasks we have written? Read, write, and the play, and whatever it is. Right? So if I have a class named as a student and I have three students over here, so these are the objects that I have created. Right? It's kind of an obj1, obj2, and the obj3 we have created. Okay, so the names, roll numbers, date of birth, name, roll number, date of joining or date of birth, whatever you want. Right? Name, roll number, date of birth, and date of joining. So these are the properties should be there for an object, right? And these are the objects we have created. You can consider it as an object 1, object 2, and object 3. Right? Okay, what is an abstraction? So let's say if I want you to tell a 8th standard guy, right? You need to explain him or her the concept abstraction, right? So how will you explain in the lamest manner? The lamest manner could be like hiding the internal details of the particular thing, right? Hiding the internal details and showing how does exactly it works, right? So there is an example also given. If you download any Android application from Play Store, right? You will get a .apk file or the .exe file. .exe is for the software purpose. You will mostly get a .apk file, which gets installed in your phone and you start using the app, right? Let's say I will give you another example. So how exactly we are going to say that it's a kind of an example of an abstraction, because you don't know what are the classes they are using. You don't know how the implementation is going on. You don't know what is the package name that they are using, right? What is the exactly thing you know how to use that app, right? That's the only thing you know, and you are hiding all the internal implementation from the user itself, and this is what called as an abstraction, right? Just an overview. Let's say you want to drive a car, right? So you don't know how an accelerator works, you don't know how the brake works internally, but you know whenever you uh, keep your foot on the accelerator, the car starts accelerating, right? So we are not telling end users that how exactly it works, but we are telling them, okay, this is the functionality and this is how you can use it. So this is the idea all about what is abstraction, right? Okay, just today we'll give an intro about each and everything, and in the upcoming classes we'll be discussing the details that what is abstraction, what is encapsulation, and so on and so forth. So guys, any doubts in abstraction? Because this is kind of an overview, and after in the coming classes, right, we'll be discussing how exactly we can achieve the abstraction in our code, right? Okay, so let's move on to the encapsulation. What is encapsulation? Encapsulation is basically the binding the variables and the method, binding the data together, right? You keep encapsulate the things, right? That's where the capsule things comes on, right? So the capsule, if you see, the capsule comes in the two colors. That means you are binding the things in that. So it has some kind of a powder inside it, and you see bind it with the shell, right? That is a overview shell. Okay? So that's where the word encapsulation comes in. That means you are binding the things together. And what you can bind in the Java, if I talk in terms of Java, you can bind the variables and the method using a single entity. Okay, what would be the name of a single entity? That's going to be a class. Right? So you are binding the variables and method using a single entity, and the single entity itself is known as a class. Since you are binding the data, that's why it is known as an encapsulation. Right? So what exactly the encapsulation works? Let's say I have a class. So class, there should be definitely a name is going to be there for a class, right? So the class must contain a name. After that, there should be some variables, right? Let's say if I have a class students, assume there is a student as well, right? It should have the variables as a roll number. It should have the variables as somewhere the name as well, right? Then after that we want to read the roll number, we want to write the roll number. It's kind of a getter and a setter method. If you know in terms bit technical, these are the getters and the setter method. What does that exactly do? Getter method, as the name suggests, it will help you to get the value whatever the variable you have defined it over here, right? Setter value will set the value of what you want to exactly set up, right? Let's say if I want to set the variable roll number value as 20, right? So I will write a setter method for it. I will write void setter set roll number, right? If I just tell you right? So what exactly we gonna do? We do have a getter and a setter method, right? So what exactly the getter method works is like, let's say you want to get something, right? So get person's name. If you want to get the person's name, that's basically going to indicate, right? If you want to get the some particular person name, so you need to define it like this. Whatever the type of this, you need to define it. So let's say if there is no type, you need to define it void. If there is a type, you need to define it as a, let's say you want to define it as a string. So public static string, and it will return the get person name, right? So return name. It will return the person's name at the same time. But if you want to set the value, right? So you exactly gonna write it. We will have a one more discussion on it, right? I'm just giving you a set person name, and inside it you need to pass the value, right? So whatever the string value you want, you can pass it over here. Should be small letter, and name is equals to value. You can define it like that, right? So this is basically a setter method, I would call it. This is a setter method, and this the very first method that I have written is a getter method to get the values, right? So the name student consists of three things. He can do these many things. So he can do, these are the methods and these are the variables, and if I have binded it together, this is called as an encapsulation. Okay, let's think about an inheritance. Okay. So acquiring the properties of one class to another class. This is what the inheritance is, right? So inheritance, basically you are going to inherit the properties of any of the your parents, right? That's what the inheritance indicates, even if we talk about in terms of an English, right? The same thing applies over here. These names are derived from the English words only. These are not the new words that we are defining. We are reinventing the wheels, right? So acquiring the properties of one class from another class, that means, let's say you have a parent class. Parent class is also called as a base class, right? Or maybe you can call it as a super class as well. We do have a child class. The child class is also called as a derived class. At the same time, we can call it as a subclass, right? So with respect to that, super class and the subclass, parent and the child, base and the derived, right? So where exactly do we use it? Let's say I want to implement something, right? I want to design a car. Let's say I want to design a car. Right? If I ask you to explain it to a 8 year student, how will you gonna explain it? So the explanation should be like this. Or maybe you want to design anything, right? I have considered it as a car. Right? So you want to design a car with the various features, but what a car should consist of, right? It should always have a four wheels. It should have steering. Right? It should have mirrors. Right? It should have tank, which is a petrol tank. Right? Apart from that, it should have seats. Right? So these are the common properties that every car should have. Right? If I tell you, what about your car? So let's say that you are designing car, you want to give some extra specific things to it, right? Let's say you want to give a board speaker. Okay. Okay. Or maybe some unique feature you want to give your car apart from these as well. Maybe you want to give a fog lamp as well. So these are the features which are not there in every car, but you want your car to have these features as well. So what I can say is your car should get inherit from this car. Right? So you don't have to write the implementations of this car again and again. Whatever the properties of this car have, you can always make use of this car, right? Because so what I'm gonna do is your car should inherit from the car. So whatever the properties of a car, I got it, right? So if I tell you now with this statement, what I exactly I did, your car is inheriting the properties of the normal car, which is basically your car has these properties. Apart from these properties, you are also making use of these properties as well. And this is what the concept is called as an inheritance. Right? So now your car, if I talk about, right, this has these many features. It has a board speaker, it has a fog lamp. Apart from that, it has four wheels, steering, mirror, tank, seat, everything. Right? So there can be various types of an inheritance we have. That is called as a single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, inheritance. Right? We'll be discussing into the details when we start discussing about inheritance. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to the next. So the next we are going to discuss is what is an polymorphism. Right? So the polymorphism is basically poly means many and the morphism means forms. Right? So basically something of many forms. That's what that indicates. If I just break down the polymorphism into the two words, right? It looks like that is poly plus morphism. So if I say poly means many, right, and the morphism means forms. So that basically indicates that something you want to have which can be used in the many forms. And what is called as? It's called as a method overloading or overriding. So what exactly it does is it's basically loads the method. So we can have a method overloading slash overriding. Okay. We will be discussing into the details what are the difference between those, how can we achieve these. But for now, what you can see is, let's say I have a add method. Okay. If I have one as a parameterized method, other one I don't have as a parameterized method. And these functions, if you see carefully, these functions have the same name. That means somewhere I'm using a many of one form, right? Since the method name is same and I'm implementing these two functions as a different function, right? On the basis of parameter passed to that function, I'm going to determine which method should I call, right? So performing same task in the various ways, and that's where the same method name comes into the picture. Okay, so for the just to give an example of a polymorphism performing the same task in the different ways. Let's say I want to draw a polygon, right? So polygon can be square as well, polygon can be a rectangle as well, polygon can be a triangle as well. Right? Okay. What is a method overloading? Overloading is known as a compile time. It determines at the compile time, but the method hiding is determines at the runtime. Okay, so maybe we can quickly move on to the abstraction. Do we guys have any doubts so far, whatever we have discussed? Any doubts? Okay, great. So what is a Java abstraction? Right? First of all, let's take it in an easy way, right? So the Java abstraction once explain the method overloading at the compile time. Correct. We will be having a separate session for the polymorphisms as well. Right? So let's not discuss it over here because otherwise it will take time here as well and there as well. So today we have a dedicated session for the abstraction. Apart from that, we'll be coming on to these topics as well. Okay. Okay. So abstractions, abstract classes and the methods. This is what the abstraction is. Abstraction, as we discussed, it's basically the process of hiding the certain details and showing the essential information to the user. If I just write an example, basically we have an APK, we do have a cart. Can you guys suggest me any more examples to it? Guys, anyone? Can you think of a more example where we are using an abstraction in the real life? Okay, mobile. Okay, okay. How about others? Guys, there are various examples you see in your day-to-day life. Okay, chats. Okay, correct. App you have already considered. It's basically apps or APK. That's the same thing. Okay, great. So TV, ATM. I got so many examples. Good. So these are the examples. You don't know the internal implementation of these, but still you make use of it and you get your things done. Right? So what are the properties of an abstract classes? Right. So the abstract keyword is a known access modifiers. First of all, guys, these are the points you need to remember it. Right. Because these are the points that will form the questions, and you need to memorize these points. That would be really helpful for you at the time of an interview as well, and at the time of solving the any MCQ question which is related to the abstraction. So just give it a try and try to memorize everything whatever we are discussing in the today's class, and after once we are done with the session, try to go through this doc again. So the abstract keyword is the known access modifiers. First of all, I'm highlighting the points which are important, used for the classes and the methods. Right. Abstract class is a restricted class that cannot be used to create objects. Right. So if I just highlight the points, you cannot create an object for a class. Now you will say, if I cannot create an object of abstract class, what is the why I'm making that class even? Right? Can anyone tell me why exactly we are making that class? Let's say I have defined a class, or maybe I have an example over here. Okay, so can you guys see one example over here on the screen? Right? Okay, good. So what I am saying is I cannot create an object of an abstract class. Right? If I want to create an object of an abstract class, it will throw me an error. Then what is the reason we are creating a class even, right? If I cannot create an object, why I do even want to create a class if I cannot access its methods, if I cannot access its variables? Okay, abstract class must be fixed. We cannot add any objects. Correct. We cannot create any object, but what? How should I make use of it? Right? If I cannot create an object, if it doesn't even, I know it exists, right? I know this is an abstract class, but if I cannot create an object, let's say if I want to create an object for an animal class, right? Let's say I will name it as an animal is equal to new animal, but I won't be able to, right? If I compile it, it will throw me an error. Correct. So the error says animal is an abstract, cannot be instantiated. Animal is equal to the animal. This line has an error. Right? So if this line has an error, so That's for sure. I cannot create an object for this class. Now the question comes is, let's say I want to access this method. How should I access it? Correct. We need to implement it in the other classes. Good. Right. So basically that's the solo reason of creating an abstract class. The reason behind that is I don't want to create an object, and this is how I can hide the internal details of this class from the user. Right. So no user will get to know that okay, this class has these many methods, right? Until and unless we are not implementing or we are not extending that class. And this is how it works, right? So first of all, you need to memorize one thing, that we cannot create an object of an abstract class. Okay, let's move on to the second point, right? To access it, it must be inherited to another class. So how exactly we're gonna access it? We're gonna discuss this question as well. Okay, let's move on to the abstract method. What are these abstract methods? Abstract method can only be defined inside the abstract class. It cannot be defined outside the abstract class, right? If you say, can I define an abstract method over here? No, right? If you ask, when can I define an abstract method, a method to be an abstract, it should be always whenever the class is an abstract, then only you can define an abstract method. Okay, apart from that, whenever you define an abstract method, right, it shouldn't have a body inside it, right? When I say body, that means there is no any statement I have to write over here, right? It's just an empty state. It's just an empty function. I don't know what exactly this function does because I don't want to even know, right? The class who is extending that animal class, the animal class is an abstract class. The class, whichever the class is extending that animal class, should write the implementation of this abstract function, right? So the second takeaway from here is abstract class is the only class which can have an abstract method. Apart from that, it shouldn't have an implementation at the same time. It should just have the name of that function itself. Right? It should not have a body. Right? Okay. The third point. Abstract class can have the abstract method as well as the normal method. Right? What is the difference between an abstract method and a normal method? Anyone? You can have a look over here and can tell what is the difference between an abstract method and a normal method. How do you identify whether it's an abstract method or it's a normal method? Okay, abstract method don't have body. Okay, okay, anything else apart from this? Correct, we use an abstract keyword. Good. Correct, it's declared by using abstract keyword. Correct. Good. So basically there are the two differences. First of all, the abstract method doesn't have a body inside it. That's the very shallow reason, right? Apart from that, we do have one more property which is called as an abstract. So whenever we define a method as an abstract, we need to declare an abstract keyword over there, right? If this isn't there, right? Let's say if I remove this one, that's going to behave as a normal method if I just give body to it, right? And even if I don't give body to it, it still behave as a normal method because a method may or may not have a body, right? I can give an empty statement over here, right? So it still doesn't have a body inside it, right? But now if I remove the abstract keyword, it will behave like as a normal method, which doesn't do anything, of course, right? Okay, so let's move on to there. Okay, and okay, Apart from that, an abstract class can have both the things. It can have abstract method as well. It can have non-abstract method, which are the normal methods as well, right? So let's have a look. This is an example. Okay, to access the abstract class, it must be inherited from the another class. So that's the reason we have taken this an example. So what exactly we are doing in this example? We have a class animal, which is an abstract class. We have an abstract method. We have a normal method. Since the abstract method should have an abstract keyword, so we do have that. This is a normal method. Now, if I want to access this method, right, I cannot create an object of an animal class. So that's the reason I will not be able to access sleep directly. I want a way to access the sleep, right? So what I'm gonna do is I will create another class that I will call it as a subclass because this is extending an animal class, right? The name I will give it as a pig. Why I have given a name as a pig and animal? Because this is a parent class, right? So if I tell you this is a parent class, right? So animal is a parent class and pig is also one of an animal. That's why we have given a mnemonic name like say, right? Public void animal sound. Now, whenever you defined it like it, right? Whenever you extend a class, you need to write the method definitions again, right? If you don't do it, your code will not get executed because here it doesn't have any definition. You need to define the definition of this over here, right? So the body of the animal sound you have defined over here, system.out.println, the pig says something something, right? VV or whatever it is. Now, so now I have two classes. I have animal class, I have pig class, which extends basically animal class. I want to create an object of a pig class. So basically my pig is equals to the new pig, right? So I have created an object of a pig class, my pig, right? So with that my pig, I can access the elements of an animal sound. Apart from that, I can access the sleep as well. Even if you see, the sleep function is not defined inside this class, but the class is extending an animal class, and the animal class has a function name as sleep, right? So if I can create an object of this class, since I cannot create an object of an animal class, so I need to create an object for the pig class. After creating an object of a pig class, I can access every element, whatever is defined inside this abstract class. I can extract every element of this class, right? So can you guys tell me what should be the output? If I just run this code, what should be the output? Or maybe let's make it easy, right? I have pig called, right? And I will write it as a sleep. Right? Can you guys tell me what would be the output if I just remove this line? Is that okay to remove this line? If I run this code, what would be the output? Okay, sleep. Okay, great. So the output would be sleep. Let's try running it. Correct. So the output we are getting it as a sleep. Now, so basically what I want you guys to understand that we can access the elements of an abstract class by using by creating an object for the subclass and after that calling that function itself. Any doubts guys? Anyone in the class? and if we run this one, it should give the output as a pick call. After that, it should print as a sleep. Correct? Okay. Any doubts? Okay. So why exactly do we use it, and when do you use an abstract class? So the purpose of using an abstract class uh, to gain the more security, to achieve, hide the certain details from directly from the user, and only show the important details of an object. So this is all about the data abstraction. We have some other key points to take away from here. So maybe you can quickly discuss that as well. Guys, any doubts so far? Okay. So the data abstraction is the property by the virtue of which the essential display to the user, the travel of a known essential units are not displayed to the user. For example, they have taken an example of a car. The data abstraction may also be defined as the process of identifying only the required characteristic of an object, ignoring the irrelevant details. The properties of a behavior of an object differentiate it from the other object of a similar type and also help in classifying the grouping the objects. Right? Okay, we can achieve the abstraction using an interface as well and the abstract class. So abstraction is achieved by the interface as well as by the abstract class. Right. So abstract classes and the methods. Few key points to take away from here. An abstract class is a class that is declared with the abstract keyword. First of all, so it should have an abstract keyword. That's where we call it as an abstract class. The abstract method is a method that is declared without an implementation. Okay, that's what we have seen as of now, right? Then abstract class may or may not have all the methods abstract. Some of them can be a concrete method. When I say concrete method, that means normal methods which may have a body as well. Right? Guys, any doubts? Okay. A method defines an abstract must always be redefined in the subclass, thus making overriding compulsory, or either subclass itself abstract, right? So a method defined an abstract class must be redefined. What does that mean? If you have defined an abstract method, right, you need to redefine it in the subclass. That's what we have done over here. We have defined a method name over here. After that, I need to redefine it over here inside here as well, right? Thus making the overriding compulsory, or either make the or you can make the subclass as an abstract class. So it's a kind of an iterative thing you are doing. Okay. Any class that contains one or more abstract method must also be declared with an abstract keyword, right? So it's a kind of a vice versa thing as well. If any one of the method is an abstract of a class, then definitely the class is going to be an abstract class. The class should contain an abstract keyword, any one method, right? If all the method doesn't have an abstract class, it can be a normal class. If any one of the method have an abstract keyword, that means you need to define the class as an abstract, right? There can be no object of an abstract class. That is the class that it cannot be accessed directly or instantiated directly with a new operator. Abstract class can have parameterized constructor. Whether an abstract class can have the constructor, the answer is yes, it can have the constructor, right? And the default constructor is always present in an abstract class. It can have the parameterized constructor as well. That means you can have you can have a constructor for a parent class, abstract class, but you cannot create an object for the abstract class. Right? So let's have a look at the example. What exactly this example says, you have a shape, right? Shape is going to be an abstract class. Okay. For that, you have a several variables, which is a color, which is of a type string, abstract area, which will return the area to you in the double form. To string, can convert these variables to into the string, and get color will basically give you the name of the color, right? So these I have defined in the abstract. If I want to extend this particular class, right? So what I need to define is I need to define the areas again, right? Because this is an abstract function that I need to define the definition of this function inside this particular, or maybe inside any class where is extending to that class, right? We get all the properties of that class. Is that clear, guys? Okay. More or less, we are done with the abstraction. Do you guys have any doubts? Guys, any doubts so far? Okay, good. Okay, so let's get started to the couple of questions, right? Can you guys read the question? Guys, any thoughts on this question? Did you get the question, most of you guys? Okay, for those who didn't even get the question, let me just clarify the question to you. Right? Guys, is there anyone who didn't get the question? Right? Because the reading skills is also one of the important thing when it comes to competitive round, right? I will not be there when you will be doing a test. You need to understand the code by yourself. What exactly the question wants to say, right? That's why I'm giving a couple of minutes time to you go through the questions and try to understand it by yourself. Is there anyone who didn't get the question? What exactly the question wants to say? I can show you the whole question as well, right? You have a look at the company text. It was being asked in the TCS, and the time complexity is needed is a big of 1. Okay, 2 plus 1 minus 1. What do you mean by the 2 plus 1 minus 1? Okay, so let's try it out that way, right? If you get the question, let's say if I give the output n is equals to 6, can you tell me the output for this? For n is equals to 6, what is the output? Okay, 3. Okay, what are the doors which will remain open? Let's try to iterate it, right? Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of answers. Either it's 1 or 2, right? Okay, 6. Is it for the output n is equal to 6? Should it be 6? Let me quickly explain the question to the others, those who didn't go it, right? Meanwhile, the others try to find the answer for n is equal to 6, right? Those who are done with that, try to find the answer for n is equal to 7, right? Till n is equal to 10 I want, right? Then only you will be able to get the logic behind it. Try to do it that way. Okay. Meanwhile, the others who didn't get the question, maybe focus on the question. So what exactly the question says, consider, okay, consider a long alley with a n number of doors on the one side. All the doors are closed initially. You move to and fro in the alley, changing the states of the doors as follows. You open a door that is already closed, and you close a door that is already open. So basically, we are changing the state of a door. Whatever it is, I will change once I will let in, once I will go in, right? I will change the state of the door. Either if it was closed before, I will make it open. If it was open before, I will make it close. Okay. So You start at the one end to go on the alternating states of the door till you reach at the other end. Then you come back and start alternating the states of the doors. So first you go, you alter the 1, 2, 3, and so on till the end. Right? In the second go, you need to only take the multiples of 2. Right? So what are the multiple of 2? 2, 4, 6. Right? In the third go, what are the multiple of 3? 3, 6, 9. And in the NH, you need to take the multiples of n, and you have to find the number of doors open at the end of the process. Right? So if n is equals to 2, if I will just iterate for the n is equals to 2, right? So how it's gonna look like? Let's say I have two doors, like door number 1 and the door number 2. Considering these two doors, right? And the first go, initially all the doors were closed. That was given in the question. So I will assume it as a close. When I go the first one, right, that is going to be the first round. In the second round, all the doors, I will go to the multiples of 2 only, right? So the second door will become closed. That would be open and that will become closed. Right? I may have any number of doors, but these are the only open doors, right? So the only first door will remain open. Count even number, that will give us the output. Okay. Okay, did you try it out for n is equal to 6? Give it a try, right? 1, 5, 6 will be open. Okay, will the 5 will be open? Even, okay, let me iterate for n is equal to 4, let's say, right? So what exactly would gonna happen? If I have 4 doors, considering the 4 doors only, right? So what would be the initial stage? Open, first open, 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 right? Let's come back to the second stage, right? Open. Okay, I'm defining the closed as C, right? So closed, open, closed. Now for n is equals to 3, it would be open, okay, open, then it will remain closed. It will become closed and it will become closed, right? In the fourth stage, I need to only consider the multiple of 4. So open, close, close, open. So if you see at the last stage, how many doors do I have open? 2, right? Can you iterate the same way for the n is equals to 6? And if someone has a doubt how exactly we are getting this, maybe can ask. Can you do it for the n is equals to 6 and try to find out the output? Okay, for n is equals to 6, output you are getting as a 3. Okay, can you tell me the doors which will remain open? Okay, 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so it would be open, 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 right? Then after this, right, let's consider the multiple of 2 which will change the state only. So that will become closed, that will remain open, that will become closed, that will remain open, and that will become closed, right? Then what would do the next one? We will only consider the multiple of 3. So it will open, it will get closed, it will get closed, it will remain open, it will remain open, it will remain, it will become open, right? So since we are considering only the multiple fields which will going to get changed, right? Only the multiple of 4s which are going to change the state. So what are the multiple of 4s? It will become closed, right? Let's move on to the next. Only the multiple of 5 will get changed, so it will become closed, right? Only the multiple of 6 will become changed or it will become closed. So if I just write down all the states, right, as of now, I have this as an open, right, close, then this state didn't change, right? Sorry, maybe I need to, okay. So it will remain open, then it was closed only, it was closed only, it was closed only, it was closed only, and since we are on the sixth one, we need to change the state of this, so it was also closed. Yes, we missed out one over here. That is 1, that is for 2, that is for 3, that is for 4, that is for 5, and that is for 6. Do you see something wrong over here? So close, close, close. Then at the 3, we need to only consider for the 3, correct? So the 3 will also be changed over here. The multiple of 3s, right? We need to change the state of the door as well, which we did, right? And the fourth one, we need to change this to the close, right? In the fifth one, we again need to, it is to and fro, correct? So okay, in the fourth one, okay, the third row and the fourth column. Okay, you mean this one or this one? Third row and the fourth column. So it should be, okay, maybe the indentation mistake should be there. Okay, for the n is equals to 4, following to and fro, the output is 2, correct? Okay, it will remain closed. Okay, yep, correct, correct. It should remain closed and it should open over here and it should open over here. Good. Is it correct now? Correct, thank you. Okay, maybe not over here. Maybe we can do it in the Excel in the next class so that it will give a clear picture. What exactly we are trying to do. Maybe due to the very bad indentation over here, we are not able to get that what exactly the matrix want to convey, right? As I also missed out over here, but that was supposed to be closed only, right? So if you have a look, the answer should be only 2, right? Maybe I will just attach this link in the doc that I'm going to share with you guys, right? So try to go through this question and try to find out how exactly are we getting 6. Right? But the answer should be 6. The answer should be 2 only for that. Right? So guys, any doubts? Right? The logic for this question is quite easy, right? Once you iterate it for these numbers, right? For the n is equals to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you will see a common logic over here. And I'm sure if you can get the output for these one, right, you will try to find out the some logic, and that's going to happen in the big O way. And if not, anyways, we are going to discuss this question in the next class. But the answer for this n is equals to 6 is going to be the 2, and the door 1 and the 4 will remain open, and rest of all will get closed. Right? Okay, we are already running out of time, so maybe we can drop off. Right? Have a good day, guys. I will share the PDF with you. Try it out. Right? Thank you.